Students, those who aspire to work in organizations like Space Copy, what core skills do you think they should be possessing? So what we are doing is, Medicine as an organization, we are corely focused on promoting space education to students. And everything that we try to do is hands-on learning, wherein students, they come to the laboratory. We have research laboratory here in Dubai as a city. We have our research laboratories in different cities in India. And students, they come here, they have a robotics zone, they have Internet of Things zone, they have artificial intelligence zone, they have space and astronomy section, they have avionics and aeromodelling section, they have a maker space section, they have a ground station to work for telemetric data analysis and satellite design and launch missions. So we try to give exposure to students wherein they come and then they utilize their imaginations and their academic knowledge to bring it to reality and live projects. And we work with as early as 6-year-old age groups as well. So we start our programs from 6 years and try to create that curiosity with them. And that's how all the courses and programs, they progress. Now, personally, I am very passionate to bring in real-time insights of the industry to the school education system primarily. Because by the time, the way things are moving forward, by the time these kids are going to enter their professional courses and the professional market, things will change. So, as an industry leader yourself, you have seen the transition which has happened in last decade. So from those point of view, I would like to initiate this discussion from you. First, your little bit about yourself on something which you're doing currently and which is very exciting.
All right, perfect. And thank you so very much for the introduction to Lab of Future. It's an incredible initiative. So from my side, I've been involved in the space industry for about as long as I can remember. So I started with NASA working in their planetary science division back in 2019. During that time, I transitioned to a few different areas, including heliophysics, studying our sun, and astrophysics, studying some black body radiation and similar effects of how radiation in space impacted different space instruments. It was a really compelling journey, and I learned a lot along that pathway, which led me to where I am now, which is kind of combining business and science at the same time through the power of space entrepreneurship and my work with Space Copy.
Fantastic. So as Space Copy, I was reading, I was just going through some literature. You designed some safety systems for the astronaut suits, if I'm not mistaken. Would you like to highlight a little more about what Space Copy does and what are the future projects that you're looking at?
Absolutely. And designing things for astronaut safety is a part of what we do. We do so many different things when it comes to 3D printing and additive manufacturing in space. So let me break it down a little bit. So Space Copy is an additive manufacturing company that was founded in 2022, and we are developing 3D printing systems that can create anything from infrastructure to supplies to repair parts to precision tooling in any kind of extreme environment on Earth or in space. So if you break down that context a little bit, what that looks like here on Earth is, say you're in a natural disaster area, or you're in a place like the desert or Arctic, or underwater and subsea systems, places like where you cannot get standard material supplies shipped into you for logistics or supply concerns. And where we come in at Space Copy is we're developing this novel 3D printing system that allows you to just deploy the printer into whatever zone that you're working in. It will actually take whatever you have as a local material, so that's soil or sand, whatever's commercially available off the ground, and we intake it into our system. We break it down into a feedstock, and that can be created into either a filament for extrusion-based 3D printing, or you can leave it as a powder for a more complex type of 3D printing called laser powder bed fusion. And with that capacity, we're able to make so many different things. So, like you mentioned, astronaut suits for safety. So, for example, if something were to break down in space, if a part on a rover were to break down, or a valve or a nozzle on a spacesuit were to break, then we would have the ability to manufacture that repair part solely based on the materials that are available in space.
Wow, this just sounds to me like a science fiction. Some of the movies wherein we have seen your parts are being manufactured in the space itself, and you don't need to be dependent on missions coming in back from the planet. Uh, it just sounds so fancy, but are these products right now, this 3D printing technology, in prototyping stage, or it is already in action?
We're definitely in the prototyping stage right now. We like to categorize ourselves through what NASA calls the technology readiness levels. It's kind of like an industry standard, ranging from levels 1 through 9, with 9 being ready to send to space. So we classify ourselves kind of like between a stage 3 and a stage 4. So definitely a lot of research and development going on. We're working with laboratories, academic facilities all over the world. Commercially speaking, and this is a NASA statistic, it costs right now 1.2 million US dollars to send 1 kilogram of supplies from Earth to the surface of the moon. And statistically speaking, it's been calculated that it's going to take around 56,000 kilograms of supplies in order to try and sustain 4 astronauts on the lunar surface for 1 year. And if we're thinking in the context of Artemis missions and thinking about going back to space on a long-term basis, those 56,000 kilograms of supplies being valued at $1.2 million per kilogram, well, that total is going to mount up pretty fast. And with space copy, doing any kind of manufacturing already on the moon with the resources that you have, you could actually realize a cost saving of up to 70% of that supplies.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I have a very, I'm just getting curious to know what kind of skill sets, you look while you're hiring your team, the core guys that are working for you, or the fresh hires that you take. It's very important, students, they like those who aspire to work in organizations like Space Copy or projects like of these strata. What core skills do you think, they should be possessing?
That's a great question. And there's so much diversity when it comes to what skills you need in space. I think that there's a bit of a stereotype out there that says that you have to be an engineer or you have to be in physics in order to be in this industry. And I can definitely say from personal experience that you can have a background in pretty much anything as long as you're dedicated to research and collaboration and working with a team. Now, for our team in particular, of course, we have people who are specialized in 3D printing and specialized in robotics. These people are core to our team, and they're helping us de-risk a lot of fundamental kind of aspects of our project.
Absolutely. I think that's an incredible piece of information, because many a times when we include the elements of 3D designing into our projects, we have a 3D designing studio itself, wherein students, they use extensively right from the basic softwares like Tinkercad or Cura or Fusion 360, SolidWorks, and we are making them work on it. Parents usually ask, what are the benefits of such kind of programs in future? How these things are going to shape? So what you just told me as a fact of the skills that are required, I think answers it all. It will start from here, and once these interest levels, they rise higher, the child will by default get into a research and collaboration mode to make the projects live. So I believe one of the very good takeaways from our discussion till now is this.
Absolutely.
For a moment, I myself feel that I should be there as an intern and working on these exciting projects along with you.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely incredible. And I will just add one more point to what you said, which is, I think also what is very, very valuable for a lot of students, something that I did personally, something that I've seen our interns do, is just taking up some of those soft skills when it comes to learning about the STEM industry. Like you mentioned, learning about Fusion 360 and SolidWorks. Picking up those very basic skills are so incredibly valuable to this industry. Just knowing how those systems operate, taking an online course, for example, in like introduction to computer science or how to do programming. Like these core skills go such a long way in trying to build out a career, because the more diverse skill set that you have, the more it's going to come in handy in the least expected ways.
That's great. That's a great input. A lot of parents who come to me when they speak with me that are with how do we actually plan a career and how much of technology input should get involved at this particular age. So if you look back at your journey, I have some very interesting insights to share with the audience, with your permission. So I was reading about the new age 3D printing, which you already mentioned with the additive manufacturing techniques that you've started. Something came in between as jewelry and fine art in your interest choices. I was going through the LinkedIn mentions of your previous work. Would you like to highlight that a bit? Because sometimes students, they're just juggling in between doing this, that, and then somehow trying to find their ways. Like I was one of them. I always wanted to be in the Indian Air Force. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Then I wanted to be a electronics and a satellite communication engineer. Then I wanted to be an educationist, and now a STEM ambassador. So likewise, if you can just give a little highlight of some additional streams of experiments that you are doing in your professional life.
Absolutely. So yeah, as you mentioned, I was briefly in the fine arts industry before transitioning into aerospace. At that point, it was a lifelong hobby, and something that I still continue today is being part of the creative side of things. I think that's also a really great reprieve when you're in a very technical industry, is to be able to express that creativity. And even before I joined this industry that I'm in right now with science, I was really dedicated to seeking to build a career in the fine arts. And reason for that being is that it was a creative passion. It was something that, I think was a great source of release and a great place to focus creative energy. And I had a diverse kind of skill set in that manner that I still continue with today. Everything from painting to paper filigree art to writing and so much more. And it was a really great period of time, I think, to experiment with different things and figure out, where my passions lied. And I would apply that same logic to any student who's trying to, build out their career or even just learn a little bit about themselves. Because I think also students, you're in this journey not only to build a successful future for yourself, but to be able to have this very solid core identity of who you are and what your preferences are. And you wouldn't be able to do that unless you were out there trying to practice different things. And I don't think that there's one size fits all to, you have to do this specific thing in order to get onto this career path, or you have to abide by this certain rule or guideline in order to be successful. I think that you have a little bit of fluidity to work with in that regard. And that's something that I experienced, and I was fortunate to. And I would definitely love to apply that same logic to any student who's trying to find their footing, is to try out different things. And whether or not it becomes a career path or a hobby, it's still something incredibly valuable.
Amazing. I think that's another very interesting insight, which will be very helpful for the audience. Yeah, I would like to know from you, how important do you think are these Ivy colleges and the top A grade universities? When students, they are working real hard in their grade 11s and grade 12s to clear, and trying to score good in their SAT examinations, trying to kind of picturize a dreamy world wherein all these A category universities are there, and if that doesn't happen, then perhaps they don't end up doing something great. So a lot of parents, they really push hard all the students for aspiring for it. So as far as your experience is concerned, working with the team members at NASA or in Space Copy or in your other professional journey, how much do you think is that important, or it is more about the internal passion with which an individual is driven?
I'd say it's very subjective. I will definitely say, in my personal opinion, that passion and motivation comes down to it. At the end of the day, there's nothing that can ever outmatch the passion of a student or a career professional to their job. And I don't think it matters where their education came from specifically, as long as they have a well-rounded knowledge in their subject matter and they're willing to learn and they're willing to grow. That being said, academics were always such a big priority in my household growing up. I know that it's the same way for a lot of students out there, a lot of families out there, as it should be. You're trying to shape a successful future for yourself. Parents are wanting to do so for students. Teachers are wanting to do so for their students. And in order to do that, you've got to foster that level of support, but also have, I don't want to say strictness, but have the passion for wanting your child or your student to succeed by pushing them to be the best version of themselves, encouraging them, finding ways to support them, finding resources to support them so that they have that academic journey that is best optimized to their particular learning track or their life path, I think is really, really important. And I can say personally, I've worked with many people at NASA who've had various different education backgrounds. Most of them are PhD level scientists who came from very prestigious institutions. And they most certainly knew exactly what they were talking about. And they had a high caliber of professionalism in the way that they handled themselves with their own mannerisms. And there is, to some extent, I believe, education plays a big role in that. Knowledge is power, after all. And I, for example, even took some education from Harvard Business School, so I can definitely say firsthand I've seen the experience of what one of those top Ivy League schools are like. And it's a really great community to be part of too. I think it really fosters learning and innovation and creativity. So again, I'll just kind of come back to the point where I'm saying that yes, these institutions are the best at what they do for a reason. They got those reputations for a very specific cause. That being said, though, as long as you're fostering that drive to learn, then no matter where you get your education from, as long as you have passion, I think that you're set up for a career of success.
I think you've summed it up very aptly. Something which I completely, admire. I buy that totally. I think I'm with you in that. Is what my general suggestion also to parents and students go whenever I speak with them. That it's these institutions are known for what they do. They have created their name for a reason. Are there any kind of remote learning opportunities or some research opportunities for students who are not there in US and around with working with space copy?
Oh yes, absolutely. I'll speak kind of on an industry level, and then I'll be a little bit more specific to space copy. So on an industry basis, and this is something that helped me start to build up my skills as I was getting ready to go into entrepreneurship. There's several different sites and organizations, non-for-profits, that are dedicated to teaching about STEM, that offer courses and workshops. And something I always like to say to students, and because I do a lot of mentoring myself personally, is when you're out there and you're looking for something that's specific to the industry that you want to be in, for example, artificial intelligence, there are so many organizations online that are just composed of a combination of students and hobbyists and subject matter experts that you can be part of. You can join these organizations online most of the time for free and just kind of bounce ideas off of other people in the industry. I'll give you a couple of examples that are specific to aerospace.
Okay.
So, for example, the catalyst that actually caused me to start Space Copy in the first place was the NASA Space Apps Challenge. So that is a global competition. It's held pretty much in every city in the world, wherein NASA puts out a call for students to find solutions to technology challenges. And you can create these open science projects. It's designed as a hackathon. It's meant to be completed over the course of a couple of days. And then you can do live presentations for judging panels, meet NASA astronauts and whoever else is part of that syndicate. And that is a fantastic career building opportunity.
Wow.
And then There are other resources, and something I've used personally is a site called Zooniverse. And Zooniverse has everything that you could think of, from social sciences to STEM to space to history, and it's all these different data logs from organizations and non-for-profits, and also space governing bodies like NASA and the European Space Agency. Sometimes they'll put out raw data. For example, I've worked directly with data from the James Webb Space Telescope that hadn't been processed yet, thermal imaging from spectroscopy and high-definition camera systems as well that were taking images of space, and they needed somebody to go out there and analyze the data and see if there was any anomalies or strange behavior going on in the particulate. So being part of projects like that, where you can just go online, you can create an account for free, you can investigate what projects are going on, and then you can actually just dive into it. There's instruction manuals, there's forums to talk to others who are doing the project, and you can actually be part of a living history in real time with these space organizations. And then last but not least, I'll wrap it up with kind of like more professional consortiums. So if you are already in engineering, for example, or if you want to go into a very technical field, or you're just starting that journey and you're looking for a specific resource to be part of, say, the aerospace community, I could recommend something like the NASA Lunar Surface Innovation Consortium, which is a free-to-join organization that's powered by Johns Hopkins University. And there are subject matter experts that come in every single month in everything from construction on the moon to working in radiation and plasma environments to trying to build out our capacity for solar energy in space. There's so many different niches, and I think organizations like that are a great place for students to go to because you learn so much, and you can actually become involved in research projects with some of the people who might just happen to be in attendance in one of those meetings. And there are so many other examples that I could give, but these are just a few that I've personally worked with.
And I believe most of these opportunities must be open for students across the globe, and it's not just limited to US citizens.
Oh no, absolutely. Everything that I just listed is for international students. And I will also extend the same thing to Space Copy. I mean, we run internship programs around twice a year. We're always looking for students, particularly those who have STEM industry experience, but we've also taken on students who are still in high school, who haven't had any kind of professional opportunities before, but who were just really interested in aerospace and in 3D printing, and who were willing to do some research and some reading and learning, and they've become some of the most valuable assets to our team. And I think students can really surprise you like that, for their passion and their dedication and how much that they can learn in a short amount of time. They can really be incredibly tangible, valuable assets to companies, to startups, and I definitely love to have more of those opportunities out there for students, and I consider myself to be an ambassador for trying to spread that information. And I would always encourage students to go out there and be motivated enough to go and find those opportunities and pursue them.
That's incredible. Yeah, I totally believe in that. Yes, because students, they bring in a lot of fresh perspectives to things, which is absolutely energizing. I think Madison, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this discussion with you, and there are so many inputs. I literally filled my 5-6 pages of sheets just while talking to you. Thank you. Thanks once again for your time. We made a lot of good, impactful moments during this discussion.